Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. Agricultural meteorologist Greg Soule is here with us today. Welcome, Greg.
Hello there, Sarah. Nice to be with you here on a Tuesday, folks, and hopefully a fine and enjoyable and ceremonial, at least Memorial Day weekend for what it all. I think weather by and large, with the exception of a little corridor of some rain, much needed and across parts of the Corn Belt, was in relatively comfortable shape across much of the heartland.
Yep, Tuesday after a long weekend is always feels like a Monday, but it's Tuesday.
And you know what? Correcting myself all week this week.
Right. And you know what tomorrow is, Greg? Tomorrow's Wednesday, and that's when we're going to do our monthly live stream. So I just want to note that as we start here today, that tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central, Greg will be with us live on Feedstuffs 365 for a long-term outlook. And I think you're saying the D word in that one. We're going to talk a little bit about drought and maybe the Central Corn Belt. Is that what? Just a little tease. We don't want to give it all away today, Greg. But
it's the return of the D word, and I tell you, we don't get many summer seasons where there is a strengthening El Nino, not a gargantuan, not a super one, but a moderate to maybe strong one going forward. For some, it'll be a benefit. Others, I don't think so. And we'll talk about how it applies to cattle country, Corn Belt, and points southward here tomorrow, Tuesday, for a half hour. We'll have that longer range forecast. It'll take us through the summer season here across the nation's heartland.
Very good. Well, give us a short-term outlook here today, Greg. Your slides are up.
We shall. And on to the headlines across the Corn Belt. Generally speaking for now, and it helped to get that half to three quarters, and a quarter to half to the local 3/4 inch narrow band of some shower activity and thunderstorms on Sunday out of Wisconsin, northern Illinois, southeast into the lower Great Lakes region, where the rain continues on basically at the Ohio, but it'll build back north to about I-70. It's been those far southern and southwestern areas of the Corn Belt, Missouri, I-70 southward in through southern Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio that are in tip-top shape regarding moisture over the past couple of weeks. And so some of the wettest conditions are there, 17, anywhere between 11 and 17% surplus on the topsoil moisture reserves from Missouri into Ohio. A different story prior to those rains on Sunday through northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin. Some abnormally drier areas are beginning to show up on late last week's drought monitor. We'll take a look at that here towards the end. So we are not completely out of the woods, and it will not take much to move back into those categories moving forward here in the weeks to come. And speaking of summertime and dryness and drought, at least they had some of it prior to low to mid 90s, in some spots upper 90s to near 100. And that will be the story for the day-to-day on that bottom headline coming out of Montana, the Dakotas, southern Canadian prairie. So kind of an unusual turn of events. And again, another indicator that we're moving quickly and strengthening into an El Nino setup when you get this juxtapositioning of moisture and temperatures. And we'll take a look briefly at why. Maybe we'll see it on the upper charts here shortly. In any event, record-setting heat to the north, somewhat cool, if you will, in the cattle country of Texas, lower Mississippi Valley, Delta region, where the rain is of benefit to pasture lands and rangelands, not winter wheat. And those even grass areas and hay areas of Kansas are struggling big time. Some reports that some of the producers are already getting through what they've had stored up for the year and have to tap into last year's supply. Not exactly sure how that works, but there's some feed issues already going on with grass and hay out of Kansas because of dryness and drought. Meanwhile, in the southern United States, it's a subtropical plume of moisture. Remember, in wintertime, we talk about that. In an El Nino year, it's more dominant. And if it's going to be a more dominant El Nino summertime season, well, we're going to be peddling probably some sense of a organized rain system out of the southern branch of the jet stream. And when that gets going, that sometimes curtails tropical development over the deep south and southeastern part of the country. And the rains, by the way, are of great benefit over the southeastern part of the country, slowing field work, but greatly needed. And some of the worst drought areas of Alabama, Georgia, there are flood watches there. We'll get those rains to work into the Carolinas and the Florida Panhandle. Not enough to end it, but improvement. And there's scattered showers and thunderstorms as well into parts of West Texas cattle and cotton country. That should be the ongoing story in the next couple of days as well. Meanwhile, and usually there's really 3 to 4 separate branches. They're all fragmented here. There's a significant system in the Pacific Northwest. None of these are lined up. They're all separate systems moving on their own time and pace and space. But the Pacific Northwest, Northern California, some shower activity. Desert Southwest will get some activity going in through New Mexico, and some of that cooling up aloft plus lightning. Got to keep an eye on fire potential, but at the same time, the strength of that system might actually generate, and it's incredible to be talking at this here, almost June, of an inch or two worth of rain out of Montana, Wyoming, and parts of Idaho going forward. Normally, it's just those scattered showers and thunderstorms of the monsoon setup, but we're actually driving weather into the Pacific West and Northwest. You can see those fragmented weather systems there on the visible satellite picture from the central divide of the Pacific Northwest, West Texas, Cotton and Kendall, and from roughly I-70 more so to the Ohio River on southward with the brighter clouds. There is the upper wind pattern. You can see kind of a low moving through California, the Pacific Northwest. There's one branch. There's the southern branch, fairly strong out of Texas, the Gulf Coast, feeding Gulf and even Atlantic moisture into the southeastern states. You've got that warm high, if you will, over the southwest Atlantic. That was the same one that was over the Carolinas a few days ago and had lots of readings in the low to mid 90s up and down the eastern seaboard. I believe that was last weekend. And you got another almost fourth branch coming out of Canada through the Hudson Bay, James Bay area. That will ultimately drive weather in the Corn Belt, northern and eastern areas into the northeast, into New England. We'll tell you how that plays out. And there's a surface weather map with a weak high pressure over Pennsylvania. Everything on a summertime chart is weak, and it's relatively weaker when you throw it into an El Nino setup. You can see a system across the west, and of course the Gulf moisture moving northward into the Ohio Valley and Tennessee Valley. So some welcome rains there for some. Others maybe not necessarily so. Again, this is another drought-ridden area of the country from the Ohio on southward. Scattered showers, thunderstorms, West Texas. There we had a little moisture north of the Corn Palace, west of the Twins this morning. A couple of showers and thunderstorms, and the shower activity picking up into the Pacific Northwest. This afternoon, again, pretty impressive system for the time of year across the west. There'll be some lowering snow levels, but still generally above about 7,000 or 8,000 feet. Look at the showers and thunderstorms, West Texas, severe weather into the Rio Grande, and some moisture makes it up to about St. Louis, maybe south of about Champaign, Indianapolis, and Columbus, Ohio this afternoon, and holds there with a little frontal boundary. And you can almost see 3 or 4 different movements of weather patterns here. The west, a cold front through the northern plains, boundaries stuck across the Ohio Valley, plenty of moisture in the southern plains and southeastern states for tonight, and basically in through tomorrow morning as well, with high pressure still generally speaking across the upper Midwest. Meanwhile, there's those systems again back across the western reaches of the country tomorrow afternoon. Scattered showers and thunderstorms back into play, central and southern plains, lower Mississippi Valley, south end of the Corn Belt. Another little almost backdoor cool front with weather moving almost from north to south out of the eastern Canadian Prairie, Hudson Bay, James Bay. Tough to get any organized moisture. That is very dry air with lower dew points, no frost or freeze, but it really is a setup to faster evaporation and loss of soil moisture into the Great Lakes areas in northern Corn Belt. And that front will usher southward a northeast wind, pick up on that wind, and the showers and thunderstorms that hold on into the southern plains, Dixie, Delta, and of all places, California and the West. So kind of an unusual setup already, and we're just in the early stages of El Nino, but it is sure walking and talking like a strengthening one here in these waning days of May. Any severe weather? West Texas, couple of thunderstorms in that backdoor cool front through the Great Lakes region. Maybe a thunderstorm in spots tomorrow into the upper Midwest. Otherwise, nothing really going on from a severe weather sense. And we start talking about on the windier side of these troughs across the west and Pacific Northwest, fire potential, this time out of Vegas, across the Great Basin, and into Big Sky Country and across the southwestern reaches of the country for the day tomorrow. The next 24 to 48 hours, most of the organized rains, parts of Kansas, more so Oklahoma, Texas, the Ohio River, I-70 corridor out of Indiana and Ohio on southward, and across Cotton Belt country as well. Again, not enough to end the drought. Might get a categorical improvement to dryness and drought on the drought monitor. A little overdone on the shower and thunderstorm stuff through Wisconsin and Minnesota. And look at the moisture across the western reaches of the country when the wet weather season, rainy season, technically would have ended on April 1st. High temperatures, 95 to 100 on a May 26th out of eastern Montana, the western Dakotas, southern Canadian Prairie. Some 80-degree warmth. It was nice to enjoy that yesterday for areas that were around the Great Lakes region. And note the cool weather. Again, we've kind of reversed course. The heat is up north. The cool weather, so to speak, is down south into the southwestern states, the west, and across Dixie. Here's a look at high temperatures by the time we get to Thursday, and the heat continues on through the upper Midwest, spring grain areas. At least parts of the Dakotas have had some decent, not great, but decent, hold your own spring rains. Again, parts of the Corn Belt are going to be moving into a different category, I think. Maybe not so much for the positive. Those central Corn Belt areas, while coolness continues in the Pacific West, Great Basin, down through Dixie. There's a look at high temperatures come Saturday. The heat easing a little bit into the northern plains. Temperatures close to seasonal norms across the Midwest, a bit below average along and south of I-70, and a bit below average down through the Carolinas, Florida, and the southeastern states. And by Monday, the heat still holding on west of the Red River. And really Mississippi, seasonal warmth over the Great Lakes areas, coupled with low afternoon humidity and a breeze. Keep that into mind. And the cool weather pattern relative to the beginning part of June, start meteorological summer, next Monday, June 1st, is down through the southern plains and southeastern part of the country. The next 5 to 7 days in the upper charts, Friday to Saturday, you can see a system swinging through the west. Another buccal jet stream pattern moving from eastern Canada down through the northeast of New England. If you take a look at that Friday and Saturday snapshot, that's what we call an omega weather pattern. Tends to be a blocky or blackish setup where that H, if you will, the middle part of the omega, Greek letter omega, holds on up. And generally speaking, you can see that scenario. There's a little warbling around Sunday, stronger reestablishment Monday into Tuesday. And you can see the one branch of the jet stream moving southward out of Canada, buckling all the way down across the lower Mississippi, I should say the lower Appalachian Trail. That will ultimately drive the last of at least the organized rains down to the Gulf Coast area. And not much going on other than the middle part of the country building into warmth and heat. So you get the rain-making mechanisms in the Pacific Northwest. There'll be some degree of it into the lower lakes region, the northeast of New England, and not a lot going on in the middle part of the country, including the Corn Belt areas. Just keep that in mind. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you can see that next cool front. And again, warm temperatures, but the wide range of dry, in the dry air, you'll get these wide-ranging diurnal temperature swings of some 25, 30, 35 degrees. You could be in mid 75 to 80 by day and fall into the upper 40s to mid 50s at night. That means afternoon humidity, probably 25 to 35 to maybe 40 or 45% with a breeze. You know where we're going here on areas that were a little dry. We got some late weekend rainfall, and there's just nothing much going on. I think that Wisconsin, Michigan, or Wisconsin, Minnesota QPF, as we call it, is a little bit overdone. It's model driven, but a little bit too rambunctious, we think. Anyway, high pressure, great outdoor work weather, great weather for sitting on the patio. There's just no rain in the forecast to speak of over the middle part of the country. The next 5 to 7 to 10 to 14 days just for openers. Any significant weather situated down through Texas, the lower Mississippi Valley. So we've got the active weather pattern, another 1 to 4, and some pockets of flooding from Texas to the southeastern states, maybe an inch to the Ohio, and probably half to 1 inch in those far southern and southeastern Corn Belt locales. For the next several days, while the heat eases, it comes back into next week over the northern and central plains, and the cool weather is back into the northeast and New England, and an unusually active weather pattern, as we talked about, an inch or two worth of rain into the Pacific Northwest, northern California, Idaho, Montana, parts of northern Wyoming as well. There's the next 7 days. So Cotton Belt country, the worst drought areas of Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas will get substantial, meaningful, probably a categorical one level improvement. So from a D3, D4 to probably a D2, more likely D3 on the drought monitor over the deep south and southeastern states when we get that next Thursday and probably the following Thursday as well. Significant moisture in the Pacific Northwest. I think a little rambunctious. So what you see there through the upper Midwest, more likely a few hundredths to a tenth to a quarter. That'll drive about a day out of Wisconsin and Minnesota. The next 6 to 10 days, no endorsement, the right idea. There is your Omega weather pattern through the eastern Pacific. Another one buckling through the western Atlantic. Omega weather patterns don't break down much at this point in spring and summer. Throw in an El Nino and a strengthening El Nino weather pattern. You kind of know where we're going here and what we'll talk about going forward tomorrow on Wednesday. The right idea, coolness over the south and southeastern part of the country. I'd be abnormally warm through the upper Midwest through the beginning days of June. There ain't nothing going on in the moisture department across the Corn Belt locales the next 6 to 10 days. There's a little flattening over the top. Probably is going to breed in this setup ultimately later this summertime season, more of a derecho setup for the northern plains, far northern and eastern Corn Belt. What do you get? Is 50-mile-an-hour winds and a quarter-inch of rain. Not worth paying the price on that with green snap, lodging, and blowdown. Trophidus in the west, Trophidus in the east. There's the next 6 to 10 days. Yep, right idea, and that's the right idea there going forward, well into the first week of the new month of June. So here's where we stand on the drought monitor. Take a good, close look at that. You got a couple dry areas up into the Arrowhead, west of the Twins, north of Illinois. I don't think those weekend rains will amount to much in the whole big picture of things. You can see a diminishment of drought near the Ohio, ongoing, Nebraska, western Kansas, Oklahoma. There'll be improvement there down through Dixie and the southeastern states. But note those drier areas you see in through the Midwest, the central Corn Belt, the heartland, if you will, central heartland. And there's a snapshot of what we saw last week on the drought monitor through northern Illinois, the western and northwestern Corn Belt, and areas through the Arrowhead of Minnesota. Take a look at that map and just keep that in mind, what we're going to probably feature tomorrow, the 27th, Wednesday at 1 o'clock Central Time. So we have, Sarah, a pretty good fix on what's going to materialize in this category and degree of El Nino. Throw in some strengthening elements of it. I think the next thing we maybe think about and talk about is later this summer, some lack of heat units, growing degree day units with time. But we'll talk about that in greater detail. That's still that fuzzier end of the outlook around here. But the story is, tune in tomorrow. We'll tell you about it.
There we go. Let's do it. Let's mark our calendars for tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central and tune in and get all the details. Thank you so much, Greg. Appreciate your time here today. And
thank you.
We appreciate all you tuning in as well.